Good evening, Professor. This is my 11th time recording this video. It's not able to upload to Canvas, and I sent you an email with the details, but I wanted to send you something as I put a lot of time and effort into this assignment, and it's important to me. So to get right into it, my first term is foreshadowing. This is my favorite literary element, as when it's done right, foreshadowing is a great way to exemplify important events before they happen. It's like a trail of breadcrumbs, of hints leading up to important plot developments later on in the story. An example of foreshadowing from my favorite TV show, Attack on Titan, would be in the season 1 finale. The character, Eren, main character, goes berserk, and he says a lot of impactful, scary statements about his goals and motivation, which don't align with his character at the moment. But by the time season 4 hits and there's a switch in 180 in his character development, all of those things he said previously make sense and are aligned with his character at that time in season 4. Thus, everything he said in season 1 was foreshadowing for what would come later on. My second term is characterization. Characterization takes place either directly or indirectly, and it consists of a representation of traits, motives, the psychology of a character overall. It's what makes a character a person and not just writing on a paper. Flat characterization or a flat character is when that character is one-dimensional. They might have one characteristic and that's it. They're simplistic, they have a purpose and they serve it. That's about it. They don't go through any character development. A round character would be the opposite of that, where they go through character development. They have complexity to them. They have depth to them. They do more than just serve a purpose in the story. They actually, they're multidimensional. They go through character arcs. They display multiple traits. An example of great characterization in a piece of fiction movie called The Equalizer, the main character is directly characterized when the antagonist mafia boss is on the phone talking about him, describes to the audience and whoever he's on the phone with exactly what the main character is all about, what he looks like, his backstory, everything about him, tells the reader, or audience, everything they need to know. On the other hand, an example of indirect characterization about the main character would be when he's in a coffee shop and a girl is watching him as he eats breakfast, and his mannerisms and how he's very almost compulsively neat and organized is shown by how he organizes his placemat, newspaper, and napkin all to be aligned perfectly, and he has a routine in doing things, and he's compulsive about it. That's a character trait that was indirectly shown through a character watching another character and through watching his actions and how he does things. Next term is conflict. Generally speaking, conflict is the literary element that drives the narrative forward. Usually the protagonist is struggling against the antagonist, or something similar to an antagonist. It's the problem or issue that drives the story to find a resolution, and there can be no narrative without solid conflict in some form, whether in large scale or small scale. Internal conflict has to do with the character battling with themselves, whether it be their own body or their own mind. John Wick is a great action movie, and the internal conflict John Wick deals with is deciding whether or not to stay in retirement or to return to his past self and becoming a monster to achieve his goals, as he's struggling against himself, being the internal conflict of, do I revert and become a monster, or do I stay the new person that I've become? An example of external conflict in that movie would be when John Wick's dog is killed by an external force, being the mafia member's son, who kills his dog, and that's the external driving force. John Wick must resolve this conflict by avenging his dog. It's simple, it's compelling, and it works great. Next term is theme, which can be described as the culmination of details from a narrative's plot, characterization, setting, style. It's many different factors and aspects all culminated into one. And when deconstructed, analyzed, and a generalization is made, then you have the theme. The theme is not the subject matter, it's not what happens, it's the implied moral significance of the story, and I got that from our week's reading. A great example of a theme from my all-time favorite works, being Dune, has to do with how the theme of heroes are dangerous because they're only human, and the main character is constantly, there's a theme in the story, and the main character demonstrates that theme of being dangerous, even though he is a good guy and a villain, and he has good intentions. But by going through those good intentions, he hurts and kills thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, and it's all because of him. And that theme, before it even happens, is hinted at. It's shown indirectly through the plot of the movie, through the characters, through what they say. There's a lot of commentary on it, and it applies to our politicians and to. I'm getting too deep into Dune. I could talk for hours, but yes, the theme is that heroes are dangerous, and to be wary of false messiahs, especially. But heroes are only human. The third question: these narrative elements contribute to the creation or understanding of a story by supplying the reader with complex material. No one wants to consume a story where it's basic and redundant, or good rivals evil. The story needs to be multidimensional, and it needs to have all of these basic literary elements in it to function properly. A good way I can describe this and answer this question is, if a story is a human body, then conflict would be its heart. A human body can't function without its heart. A story can't function without its conflict. Human bodies can't function without its bone structure. Stories can't function without characterization. Stories need foreshadowing, the same way bodies need blood flow and cardiovascular health. I could go on and on with the examples, but the point is that these literary elements that are discussed and that you've taught us about, and that I'm now discussing in this assignment, are like the internal organs to the narrative. A quote from this week's reading, Chapter 2, great storytellers refuse to give explicit moral judgment a place in their fiction. And this is centered around theme specifically, and applies to my point about the aforementioned narrative elements contribute to the creation or understanding of a story by showing how authors must pull different elements together to create a living, breathing work of fiction. Also, knowing these terms and understanding what the literary elements are in their most basic components allow us to appreciate what they are better. A good metaphor for this is, you can't appreciate wine unless you know where it comes from, how old it is, what color it is, what kind it is, etc., etc., etc. The same way, you can only really appreciate a story if you can identify and understand its literary elements. Thank you so much, and please get back to me about this whole assignment's issues I've had with it. It's been very frustrating. I look forward to your response, and even if I don't get credit for it, it was fun doing it, and I would love to get feedback. So thank you so much, and let's keep in touch about how we can resolve this and how I can move forward. Hope you have a great rest of your night. Hope your family is safe with all the fires and winds, and I look forward to hearing from you.